Um, I don't know what actually transpired in the meetings in New York. But what I do know is that the desire and intent of all these countries from Arab and Muslim world was to get the war stopped in Gaza because human lives are being lost uh, by the day, and therefore it was important to find some means. I think all other means, including international pressure on Israel to stop the war, did not seem to work. Uh, you know, vast majority of the United Nations members have spoken about it, and yet Israel continues to do what it is doing. But it has in fact gone way beyond Gaza and West Bank and was thinking of Greater Israel. So uh, the desire was to first put an end to the right there, the threat, the genocide that's going on, and then go forward through negotiations. I think some of the elements that were so unclear in the 20-point peace plan that probably questions arose because people wanted to know more details before they can sign up to this. Well, I think uh, the central element of the peace plan was whether the Israeli security forces would withdraw uh, and under what timetable. It mentions that there'll be phased withdrawal, but there were no guarantees that it would withdraw. Suppose they get their hostages back and still do not make any ceasefire, there can be any skirmish somewhere and they'll resume the war. And therefore, I think this point needs more clarification. One would have expected that after the peace plan was agreed, it would go to the UN Security Council and get a legitimacy of the international community. If the very first step doesn't take off, then the entire peace plan actually is off the table. So if Hamas is not on board or Palestinians are not on board, naturally the peace plan is sort of dead on arrival. It is an external control, but one would have expected that these will be the Palestinian experts with some international oversight. There is no way to get Palestinian representation elected in Gaza at the moment. How would you do that? It's totally chaotic there. So, yeah, that also needs more clarity, and that's why most of the Arab and Muslim leaders are seeking greater clarity about the plan. In principle, they accepted, sort of welcomed it because they wanted the war to halt. Every day, Palestinians are losing lives. But as the time progresses, I think people are raising questions because they want to have answers to these things. It was my sense that first the ceasefire, then the governance mechanisms in Gaza and West Bank, and finally the question of Israel recognizing Palestinian state and Arabs and Muslim countries recognizing Israel. That would have been towards the end. But there are people who are not satisfied without full guarantee that there will be a Palestinian state. Yes, I think Hamas is still a potent entity. Many people regard Hamas as a political movement, and their struggle, even if it was armed struggle, was meant to throw off the yoke of occupation. And therefore, Hamas, if you don't give Hamas any role, even if they are elected by their people, then naturally the chances of its success will be minimal. And that's why we are unlikely to cross the very first step, which is ceasefire. And it seems that the plan is not going to make much headway.